Hey, welcome or welcome back to 4F Beauty. When will I be YouTube famous? Don't know. But my girlies in the Beauty YouTuber growth group are listed in the description below, and we give each other shout outs in the hope that we can spread the love of our channels that little bit further. Now, I am really regretting my choice of highlighter today because in my mirror it looks fine. In my viewfinder I look like I've got a very bad suntan, and it won't be until I come to edit this that I'll determine whether my mirror or my viewfinder is more accurate. If this is your first time on my channel, I promise you I don't always look like this. But thankfully we're not reviewing the highlighter, we are reviewing the eyeshadow palette, which you will know because I'm sure you've read the blooming title of this video. It is the Paulina from Blush Tribe. So, if you want to see exactly which shades I used to produce this stunning look, you're in exactly the right place. Here comes your tutorial. Suntan. Hey, welcome back from the intro. You will have seen this in the intro that I haven't filmed yet. And it had this little card in it which says, "Thank you for your purchase, Beauty. I appreciate your support and that you chose Blush Tribe to shop. I really hope you enjoy your order. I would love to see what you create. Don't forget to tag Blush Tribe when you post your gorgeous pics." And then it goes on to say about if you're not happy for anything, how to get in touch with her, and that customer satisfaction and contentment is her #1 priority, and she hopes to see us again soon at La Salma. That's the lady that actually owns Blush Tribe. And she very kindly has given me a discount code. It's non-affiliated, I don't earn from it, so similar to my September Rose one. The code is the same, Bomber in all caps, and it's exactly the same as that one, 10% off any order over £10. So feel free to use my code. If you don't want to use my code, there's other codes out there. I know over Christmas she had a code on for 30% off, which I will admit I took advantage of and bought this because I knew I was going to buy this. I was going to wait until after Christmas, but then there was the discount code, and I suddenly remembered that I'm doing a low buy after Christmas, and yeah, my resolve, see the door over there? Went straight out of it. Absolutely straight out of it. I am just going to pause you a minute and go and adjust the blind because the sun keeps coming in and out and I don't want it to muck up my white balance too much. Be back in, well, instantly for you probably won't even notice a difference. Hold on. As I said, probably no difference. Right, let's give you a look inside this. When this arrived, it was covered in plastic, which I took off. Cardboard sleeve, as with previous palettes of hers. Same design on the front and all the ingredients, etc. on the back. You want to see inside this, don't you? I mean, you probably already know what it looks like. Because how stunning is that? I mean, Paulina is beautiful anyway, and I love the fact that she loves greens because I knew there were going to be a lot of greens in this palette. So, I have done swatches of these. I'll put the swatches up on screen as I zoom you in. When the swatches go, just a heads up, I'm going to be very up close and personal. Please don't jump too much, okay? How's your day been so far? Hope it's been a good one. Hope your Christmas so far has been fun. As I should say to any Swedish viewers, God Jul, which is, I believe, how they say Happy Christmas. Now, I did adjust my camera. I get the feeling I could be slightly on the slant when we come back. If I am, let's pretend we're not, okay? Right, the swatches are Friends, Sigge, which is named after her dog, Soli or Suli, Humble, and Thingaling, which is a word she often uses. I mean, don't be wrong, her English is way better than my Swedish. But if she's struggling for a word, very often it's the Thingaling, which I absolutely adore because I call things thingamabobs, so, you know. And then the second row is Angel, Salma, which is the lady that owns Blush Tribe, Paulina, which is the shade that was also in the Full Fusion palette named after Paulina, and Aubergine, which was also in the Full Fusion palette. But those are the only two duplicate shades. And hello, told you I was going to be up close and personal. Right, my face has been washed, moisturised, and primed using my usual antiperspirant, facial antiperspirant, which has primer qualities. Underneath that, I have actually popped some of this on, which is the Aldi dupe for the Smashbox photo finish, and actually I prefer their version, the Aldi version, because it's a thinner consistency, so it spreads easier and you can get a thinner coverage on your face. And I just find that that particular primer on my skin, at least, which is 44 years old and oily combo, I find that the thinner layer of that works far better than a thick layer, so it actually works better on me than the Smashbox one does. Right, long-term viewers will know exactly what I'm about to say. New viewers, hi, hello, welcome. My tutorials are aimed at all levels, from people who've never picked up a brush before to people who are far more expert than I am. So I go through every single step without speeding anything up, without cutting any blending out, so that beginners can keep up with me without having to keep pausing, and then the screen lock comes on and I have to take the screen lock off, etc, etc. If you are far more competent at blending than I, because with my chronic pain I can't blend as quickly as I'd like to, or that I used to be able to, there's a widget either up here or down here, depending on what you're viewing me on, where it has a speed playback. And you know, if you find that my tutorial is a little bit too long for you, then by all means speed them up. I will sound like a chipmunk, but you never know. If that puts a smile on your face as you leave the house in the morning, then my work is halfway done. No, seriously though, if you need to speed my tutorials up, feel free. But my tutorials are aimed at all levels. So I do go through step by step by step, so even beginners can recreate the looks that I do. Now, when I look straight ahead, you can see all of my mobile lid from inner corner to outer corner. So I don't have hooded lids. I do have deep set eyes. With this eye, for example, if I put the brush there and then close my eye, you can see I've got as much lid space again that disappears back in as I have that's visible. So I do understand what you hooded lid ladies go through and gents go through with terms of creasing and transfer of shimmers up onto lids, etc. Now, you can still follow my tutorial. If you don't see this, you either got a full or a half hooded lid, or what's known as a mono lid or an Asian eye. You can still follow my tutorials. All you need to do is get a flat top brush, something like this, and with your eye open, just sketch out where you need your crease to fall. Obviously this will reduce the space between your crease and your brow, because I can just follow my bone socket of my eye here. So I always suggest that you raise your eyebrows when you're putting makeup on, because that does help stretch the skin out, helps to avoid fallout, helps to avoid skipping. But I'm going to be using two brushes today, or two brushes mainly. A large fluffy blending brush like this, and then a smaller fluffy blending brush. Why am I finding it so difficult to speak today? Good lord. When I go from this size to this size, what I suggest that you do, if you have got reduced distance here, either because you've got hooded eye that you've had to move the crease up, or just because you have low eyebrows, what I suggest you do, instead of starting with a thick brush and moving to a medium brush, I suggest you start with a medium and then come down to this. Now, this is not a pencil brush. This is a tapered crease brush, which, as you can see, comes up to a point, but is still loosely packed for blending. Now, this one I actually got from Coastal Scents, and I've actually got a sale on at the moment, so crack on. If you're watching this when I upload it, the sale is on. I do occasionally use a brush like this, which is, it's not really a pencil brush because it's still a little bit wobbly. I've always called this a pencil crease brush. I don't know if there is a specific term for it, but I've always called it a pencil crease brush. If I'm going to be doing a halo eye, where I want to pack colour on in the corner here and be very precise with it, then I'll go in with this. Regular viewers will know I never know what look I'm going to do until I start putting the colours on my eyes, because unless I'm following another tutorial or inspired by a look or have been requested to use certain colours, I never know what I'm going to do till I start putting it on my face. A final bit of waffle. The hardest colours to create are greens and purples and blue. And we have green and purple in here. So I always, if there are greens and purples in a palette, I always use them, because that gives us a really good indication then of how good the formulas are. Enough waffling. I want to put some of this on my face. So, going in with this fluffy crease brush, I've got a colour switch here that I can change colours on my brush, but I have noticed that the textured sponge that you use to wipe your brush on is starting to get a little bit, it's almost starting to tear. So I have got a washcloth here, which, as you can see, I've been cleaning my brush off on. So if you don't have a colour switch, you don't need one. You can use a face cloth, washcloth, flannel, microfiber cloth, tea towel, anything that's going to take pigment off of your brush. This is clean, it's just stained. Right, I'm going to go in with Friends, which is the gorgeous lime green. Look at that before I tap that colour off. Look at that. Now, there is a fair amount of kick up in the pan. I can show you without tipping it everywhere. There we go. That doesn't bother me, because I'm going to go in and pick that up in a minute when I finish off the blending. And at least when it kicks up like that, you know you're getting pigment onto your brush. So, I have tapped off, as you heard, into my colour switch, but you can see I've still got pigment on the brush. Now I'm going to start off using a windscreen wiper movement just to determine where my crease line is. I'm going to follow my eye socket. If you've had to create a crease, then you follow that line that you've had to lay down. So we're just going to start off from the outside to the inside and back again, and just very carefully, just backwards and forwards, to lay the first colour down. Okay, I'm going to pick up some of that kick up. I'm not going to tap off quite as much this time. I've not done the rest of my face, so if I get fallout, like I just have, I'm really not worried about that. Just want to build that colour up a little bit through that crease there, just so I can, or just so that it shows up better on camera. I can see it in my mirror, but my viewfinder, not so much. Right, so I'm going to pick up the kick up on the brush, tap some of it off. Now we're going to do little circular movements. We're going to keep the bottom bristles in touch with that line we've put down. And we're going to, holding the brush right at the end to put as little pressure on as possible, little circular movements across towards our nose. When we get to here, without taking our brush off our skin, we're just going to lift the brush up slightly, reverse the direction, and come back again. Now, because I've got deep set eyes, I've got a lot of lid to play with, so I can go up again and go back to the original direction and come back across. I like to leave sort of 4 or 5 mils or about a narrow brush width handle from the lowest part of my brow. I like to leave a nice clean track there, just so that the brow bone highlight I'm going to put on later will show up nicely. Now, I do struggle on this outer corner here to get pigment to lay down because of creasing, so if you have something similar, just tap the pigment on and then give it a little gentle blend, just little circles like that. And if there's anywhere that you want to build the colour up a little bit, just add a little bit more pigment and just twirl it around. The reason we're doing circles like this is because I'm 44 years old, I've lost about 10-11 stone in the last few years, so the skin on my eyelids moves. And when you do little circles, if I slow it down for you, you can see it does actually move the skin around on your eye, but very, very gently, so that you don't get any white patches or tiger striping or barcoding. I'll show you what I mean when I use a darker colour this side, because where I'm blind in this eye, I've got very, very deep creasing here from when my eye was pulled around at the ophthalmic hospital when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And normally this kind of circular blending will get rid of any of those tiger stripes. It doesn't always work on this eye. If you get a little bit of fallout, just dust it away. It's not imperative because obviously doing our base after we've done our eyes. So, without putting any more pigment on here, because I'm happy with the level of colour I've got, just to make sure we haven't got any white areas left and we haven't missed anywhere, we're going to go back and do our windscreen wipers in little stripes up and down, little short stripes up and down the eye, just overlapping as you go down and come back up again, just to make sure we've got a really nice seamless blend on that colour. Alright. I do struggle just here as well to get pigment to stay on. I'm not overly worried at the moment because I am going to put darker colours over that, but obviously I did build this top corner up because that is visible. And if there's anywhere that you think, oh, I've blended a little bit too much pigment away, just pop a little bit of pigment on your brush and just go back in and top it up again. It's just makeup. Right, and now I'm going to repeat all of those steps with this eye. So we start off with the big windscreen wiper. Obviously this eye will be a little bit quicker because I'm not having to explain myself each time. But again, I will not speed the blending up. You see real-time blending with me. So you know how long it's going to take you to actually create this eye look. And also, if you're a learner, hopefully you'll be able to keep up with me. But you can see it's a really effective way of blending colours out. Okay, we've got about the same depth of colour both sides, I think. I'll add a little bit more there again. And then we go back again, and without adding any more pigment to our brush, we do our up and down windscreen wipers, just to make sure we've not got any skipped bits. I'm going to add a little bit more pigment up here, because as with the other eye, there is some creasing there, which is not so keen on taking pigment. So we just tap a little bit more on, and we do a couple of twirly whirlies, and a little bit of buffing, and then a bit more patting and just whatever you feel like doing really to build that pigment up. And once you're happy with the colour that you've got both sides, it's time to clean our brush off and either our colour switch or the towel or flannel or washcloth that we are using. I always get more fallout with this eye because the skin on this eye is a lot looser because it got pulled around so much when I was a kid. So, because I'm going to be using this brush again, I'm just going to get as much of that pigment off as I can. And then I'm going to go into Humble next, I think. And we're going to start off beautiful grass green. We're going to start off the same way with our long windscreen wiper, okay? So we're going to lay that colour down. Oh wow, look at that. Hello. Hello, pigment. Wow. Okay, pick up. This one hasn't kicked up as much as the other one did. Now this time when we do our blending, we are only going to keep the brush in contact with that stripe. We're not going to go up the eye. But we're still going to reverse the direction. Let me show you what I mean. So we're going to start here again. Tiny little circles across to the middle. Now we're reversing the direction, but we're still going to keep in touch with that line. So whereas before we raised our brush up, we're not doing that this time. Just going to go backwards and forwards a couple of times, like this, to blend out this beautiful green, but so that we can still see the original neon green that we'd laid down above it. Again, I'm just going to tap a little bit more pigment on this corner here that doesn't like taking pigment. Just checking how high up the eye had gone when I closed my eyes. Okay, I might go up a little bit higher on this outside corner. Yeah, that's better. And again, short windscreen wipers over the top once we've finished. But then what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to clean some of the pigment off with this brush. I'm going to go back into Friends and pick up just a little bit of that pigment on there. And I'm very gently going to do little circles just along where the two colours meet, just to blend those two colours together really beautifully, but so that we don't lose that original colour we put down. You can always add a little bit more of the lighter green to the brush as we blend, so that we don't lose any of the original colour we put down. Now you can see that's a much softer gradient as it goes up the eye. So now we're going to repeat this with the other eye, and hopefully this one I'll be able to show you what I mean about the barcoding, because this brighter green should actually show up. If I gently stretch my eye out, can you see what I mean here about the striping that I get? Now sometimes the circles will fix it, sometimes it doesn't. So I do normally, as I do always, lots and lots of circles to start with. Backwards and forwards, keeping in touch with that line. And I'm just going to check to see whether I've still got some lines there, so I'm just going to very gently give that a buff while I'm holding the skin on my eye taut. Do not do this if doing circles will blend your eye out, because otherwise you will end up with deep creases like I've got. and I can assure you with time they only get worse. So again, we're just going to just blend that beautiful green. I'm going to add a wee bit more pigment on this outside edge here, a little bit of drama. I mean, you can see this is blending so nicely, and greens are a very difficult colour to actually create. So again, I'm just going to clean the majority of the green off of this brush, go back into the lighter green of Friends, and very, very light, small circles, just buffing along like this, where the two colours meet, so that we blend the two shades together, but we still keep both beautiful colours on the lid. That's so pretty. Right, clean the brush off. These are very pigmented, they do stain a little bit. What I will do with this brush when I've finished recording is I've actually got a brush spray. I'll actually spritz it with the brush spray just to try and loosen some of that before I do my full-on brush wash at the weekend. Right, I am actually going to use my little pencil crease brush to lay some of Sigge, which is the green, the deepest green. Just going to lay some of that just on this outside edge here. Because I haven't decided yet. Actually, no, I'm going to go back in with the. I'm going to go down to this size brush. So if you've started with this brush, now's the time to go down to, she said, trying to find it because she put it back, tapered crease brush. And I'm going to pick up some Sigge on this brush. I'm just going to tap it on the outer third of my eye here. This one's much denser packed, it's not kicking up anywhere near as much in the pan. And again, we're just going to run that through the crease. And I'm just going to buff just a little bit on this outside corner. But when we buff the green line out that we've just put here, we're not going to have the bottom of the bristles in touch with it, we're going to have all of the bristles in touch, because we're just gently blending out the edge of that colour that we've put down. Okay. And then we're going to do the same this side. Tap some of the pigment on, like so. These do actually look very, very similar once they're on the eye. But you can see this one is deeper. Just fractionally, but it is deeper. So again, I'm just going to really gently blend along that line. Check to see if I've got striping, which I have. Now I'm just going to pick up my pencil crease brush and I'm going to go into Aubergine in the palette, which is the deep purple, because I do want this look to be a little deeper on the corner. So I just want to pop a little bit of extra dark pigment here, and then I'm going to run that literally just halfway along the eye, and then using this brush, let's take the green off of it. Just going to dip that into aubergine as well, so we've got some aubergine on the end, like so, and use that to really gently buff that corner and just halfway along the crease line, and then anything left on the brush will blend the rest of the way. Okay. This is really blending nicely, but then I liked aubergine from the Full Fusion palette, so I've got quite a few Blush Tribe palettes. I started off with their psychedelic palette, which I believe was private labelled, and then I picked up Hasina 2, which is one where they've actually had their own formula done. And then I picked up Full Fusion, and now I've picked up this one as well. And I've also had a couple of her pigments. I picked up Neelam, which is a beautiful purple to teal, which is my wedding colours, duochrome. And I also picked up Jasmine. Ooh. That's a little bit frustrating, didn't mean to do that. But with a little bit of cotton pad. Nobody saw that happen, did they? Nobody saw that flick up like that. No, of course not. This is the problem with creasy eyelids, unfortunately. They do tend to fling pigment just where you don't want them to fling pigment. But I always leave mistakes or accidents like that in, because, you know, if it happens to you, you want to see exactly how I deal with it. It's like I always said when I was learning how to use a computer, you don't learn how to use a computer until something goes wrong. All the while it's going right, you're not really learning anything. So once something goes wrong and you have to fix it, you actually find out how computers work. And it's very much the same with makeup. It's only once something happens like that and you have to sort it out that you find out how to fix things. So again, tiny little circular movements, just going along halfway and then carrying anything left on the bristles into that inner corner, but keeping the majority of the depth to this outer third. And just pop a wee bit more on because I blended that a little bit too much. Blended a little bit too much of the colour away. I like this so far. Right, now I'm going to use a flat packer brush like this. I always apply shimmers wet, and I use this is the Obsession Pigment Boost. You can use any spray though, you can use a moisturising spray like Mario Badescu or Fix Plus. You can use setting spray, priming spray, you can even use fresh water. What you mustn't ever do in a pressed palette is go in with a wet brush, because that can cause hard pan, it can seal the colour over and make it very difficult for you to get any colour up next time you go into the pan. So, I am going to go into, I think, Thingaling. Pack some pigment on the brush, like so. Oh, look at that. And then spray the brush. And then I always like to wipe the ferrule dry so that there's no moisture around here to loosen the glue. And then I'm just going to apply this to the 2/3 of the eye that so far hasn't had any colour put on it. Now, of course, you could, if you wanted, do a cut crease here where you actually lay concealer down first and then put the colour over the top. But the first time I'm using a palette, I like to actually see how much pigmentation the shimmers have themselves to see whether they can actually go over the mattes. And as you can see, this one certainly has. Now, I'm going to dry and clean my brush off on here. If I was using my colour switch, I would still clean the brush off, but then what I would do is I would wipe it on my hand to make sure it's absolutely dry before I go back in to pick up more pigment to do the other eye. Okay, so same as before, the only difference this time is that because of these creasings I do have to actually hold my eye out, otherwise it settles into the deep creases and then as it dries it flakes off. And all colours do that on me, all shimmers do, so it's not that I'm dissing this palette at all. In fact, so far my only complaint is that I wish Sigge was a little bit deeper green. But so far that really is my only complaint about it. I like to do sort of the 2/3 of the lid and then kind of angle it down to the corner, as you can see. Just think for my eye shape that gives a nicer finish. Okay, I'm going to go off camera now and I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup and I will be back to do my under eye. Hey, I'm back. I've actually decided to go quite simple on the face today. I've not done any foundation. And I've used the Revolution Jelly Highlighter in Prestigious, which is like a rose gold. I don't know if you can see there. And I am going to go into Salma on a flat top brush. And I'm going to smudge that under the bottom lashes there. You can see where the rose gold highlighter mixed with some of the green here, it's produced a really pretty inner corner highlight. And then I have another flat top brush here, but it's a lot thicker. I'm just going to dip that into Angel, which is the beautiful pink on the side. Tap off well. I'm just going to very gently buff that along the lower lash line, just to really soften that look, as you can see. Now I know a lot of people can be a bit wary of putting pink underneath their eye. I always find that if you put it actually on your skin rather than on your actual waterline, you don't look sick. If you put it on your waterline, then you tend to look as if you've got pink eye. Okay, I'm going to pause you once more while I do something with my hair, and I will come back and show you the finished result. I'll also stick some mascara on. Hey, right, I'm back. As you can see, bung some mascara on, pop some clear lipstick on, and this is a really pretty, I'm not too sure about this rose gold highlighter. I think it might be slightly too dark for me. Oops. But we're concentrating on the eyes at the moment because that's the palette we're discussing. So, what do I think so far? Having used some of the shades, absolutely the usual Blush Tribe quality. So, the mattes are very soft, they blend very well with each other. The shimmer that I used is very pigmented. It's when you apply it wet, there's little to no fallout, and it is pigmented enough to cover the deeper matte that I put through the crease. I do wish that perhaps Sige was a little bit of a darker green, because when I'd got these two on my eye and was trying to deepen it up with this one, it wasn't as big of a contrast as I personally would have liked. But so far, that is my only kind of complaint about the palette. Obviously, there will be. I keep looking at this bloody highlight. I look like I've got suntan. Yeah. Debating whether or not this one will actually be going up online because suntan. Anyway, so far I am really loving this. Obviously, I will do other tutorials with it, but for the meantime, I hope you found this fun and helpful. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, don't forget to ring my bell, and choose all notifications so that you get told every time I upload another one of these videos. And talking of another one of these videos, you're going to go and want to watch more of mine now, aren't you? You have to go and watch at least one so you can see that I don't always look like I've got suntan, okay? Once you've watched mine, my girlies from the beauty YouTuber growth group are listed in my description box, and I'm sure they'd be delighted to welcome you into their families the way you have been welcomed into the 4F family. So all that remains for me to say, as ever, is you'll stay fabulous, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.